The night was heavy with tension, but the morning after the scandal broke was even heavier. Across America, television screens lit up with bold red banners. Breaking news, the leaked document. Headlines screamed, anchors raised their voices, and analysts speculated about the fallout. The image of Trump slamming the document on the debate podium played on loop, paired with Jasmine Crockett's fiery retort and Ivanka's shaken defense. What had begun as a scandalous whisper the night before was now a national firestorm. Outside government buildings, protesters gathered with hastily written signs. Some chanted Jasmine's name, calling her a hero for standing against what they called corruption. Others demanded accountability from Trump, while still others, loyal to him, shouted that it was all fake news, a witch hunt, another setup. The nation had split overnight, and no one knew which way the balance of power would swing. Behind closed doors, Ivanka Trump sat at a long mahogany table, her hands clasped tightly in front of her. The document's contents had not only damaged her father's image, but also cast shadows over her own reputation. She had fought for years to craft an image of elegance, intelligence, and resilience. And now it was being torn apart in minutes by a scandal she hadn't created but was forced to inherit. In her silence, she wrestled with a dangerous thought. Had her father gone too far this time? And worse, was she now too closely tied to survive the fallout? Meanwhile, Jasmine Crockett's phone buzzed nonstop. Interview requests flooded in. Her fiery line, "The truth doesn't need defending when it's already burning in your hands," was now viral, clipped, shared, and replayed millions of times. Commentators across the spectrum dissected her tone, her delivery, and her audacity. For some, she was a beacon of integrity. For others, she was opportunistic, using scandal to boost her profile. But no one could deny one thing. Jasmine Crockett had suddenly become the face of resistance in Washington. Then came Trump, never one to retreat. He seized the cameras the next morning with a grin that didn't quite reach his eyes. At a hastily organized press conference, he leaned into the podium and declared that what America had seen was only the beginning. Yes, there was a leaked document. Yes, it had caused a stir. But according to Trump, it was only a fragment of a much larger story. He promised that a second document, one so explosive, so undeniable, would not only clear his name, but expose his enemies in ways no one could imagine. The media went into overdrive. A second document? What could it contain? Was it real, or was it another performance from the master of spectacle? Newsrooms scrambled, panels speculated, and social media exploded with memes, conspiracy theories, and desperate searches for clues. Trump had done what he always did best: redirect the narrative, seize control of chaos, and make the story about what was coming next. Ivanka, however, wasn't celebrating. In private, she pressed her father for details. What was in this supposed second document? Who had it? Could it actually save them? Or was he bluffing the nation again, gambling with stakes higher than ever before? But Trump brushed her questions aside, assuring her that everything was under control. Yet deep down, Ivanka knew the pattern too well. The bigger the promise, the higher the risk, and the greater the crash when the truth finally hit. As Jasmine Crockett watched the press conference from her office, she leaned back in her chair with narrowed eyes. She didn't believe Trump's claim for a second, but she also knew the danger of underestimating him. Every time he hinted at a bigger bombshell, people listened. Every time he redirected the conversation, the media followed. Jasmine understood that if she wanted to win, she couldn't just react. She had to prepare for whatever came next, even if it was nothing more than smoke and mirrors. The following days were chaos. News outlets competed for scoops, anonymous sources whispered about the contents of the second document, and pundits speculated about who might be implicated. Some claimed it revealed a secret alliance between politicians, others whispered about financial misconduct, and still others suggested it contained something deeply personal, something that would shatter the image of those involved. And then came the leak within the leak. An independent journalist posted an encrypted file online, claiming it was connected to Trump's second document. Within hours, tech-savvy users around the world tried to crack it open, their keyboards clattering like thunder. Social media caught fire, hashtags surged, and everyone from college students to seasoned reporters wanted to know the truth. What was hidden inside? Trump seized the moment, stepping onto the stage at a rally to announce that the leak was proof of the document's existence. He raised his hands in triumph, declaring himself the victim of a conspiracy, while also painting himself as the only one brave enough to expose the truth. The crowd roared, chanting his name, their voices drowning out the questions that lingered in the air. But behind the noise, cracks began to form. Analysts noticed inconsistencies in Trump's story. Allies who had once stood firm at his side began to waver, unsure if tying themselves to his claim was a smart political move. Even among his base, whispers of doubt began to stir. And then, late one night, the encrypted file was finally cracked. Screens across the globe lit up with the contents, and what they revealed was shocking, but not in the way Trump had promised. The second document was real, but instead of exposing Jasmine Crockett or vindicating Trump, it pointed back at him. The details were murky, the language coded, but the implication was clear. The personal scandal didn't belong to Jasmine, nor to some unnamed enemy. It was tied directly to Trump himself. The revelation shook Washington to its core. For days, networks ran with nothing else. Ivanka was left to pick up the pieces, her polished image now entangled with her father's downfall. Jasmine, stunned but resolute, chose her words carefully, knowing that gloating could backfire, but silence could cost her the moment. And Trump? He did what he always did, denied, deflected, and attacked, even as the walls around him seemed to close tighter. By the week's end, America wasn't just talking about the first leak anymore. They were consumed by the second. Questions filled the air. How much of it was true? Who was behind the exposure? And most importantly, how would the nation move forward when its leaders seemed trapped in a cycle of scandal after scandal? The story was far from over. If anything, Episode 5 had only set the stage for an even bigger explosion to come. And as the credits rolled on this chapter of the saga, one truth lingered, heavy and undeniable. In politics, scandal is never the end. It is always the beginning of the next fire.